Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Thank you to everyone who joined us on our introductory session just not long ago. Welcome to our second session of the Festival of Apprenticeships, powered by Pathway Group, also sponsored by JP Morgan and Tesco Maintenance. We'd really like to thank you for joining us this afternoon. I've got some very special individuals joined with me today to talk about the really important topic: what is the role of universities in apprenticeships? Now, many of you must be thinking, I thought doing an apprenticeship was the opposite of going to university, and what are universities doing in the apprenticeship space, and all these wonderful questions that you may have coming up in your mind right now. So if you have got any questions, please do put them in the chat or in the ask a question section, and our three wonderful guests will answer them for you. First of all, I'm going to ask each of our panel members to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Liz. Liz, would you like to come on and introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hi, I'm Liz Gorb. I'm Director of Apprenticeships at Manchester Metropolitan University. We've got over 2,400 apprentices on programme at the moment, and we're working with 540 employers, global players, public sector, and a lot of SMEs, small businesses as well.
Fantastic. Neil, over to yourself.
Hi, Neil Withy. I'm Head of Apprenticeships at Aston University. We've got circa 1,500 apprentices from around 350 employers currently. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. And yourself, Sammy?
At London South Bank University Group, and my role is managing apprenticeships at level 2 and 3 at our South Bank colleges, but also our high-end degree level apprenticeships at the university, where we have just under 2,500 apprentices, and we work with around 800 businesses.
Thank you so much, Sammy. So I'm going to start off with the pressing question and the reason for our session today, and that is, what is the role of universities in apprenticeships? Where do they come into this whole organization of apprenticeships? I'm going to start off with Sammy. If you could come in.
Okay. Hello.
If you'd like to go.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Kasim, or am I on mute?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I think the fundamental thing we need to really look at is that apprenticeships are developed by employers, and the demand is really based on employer needs and skills needs within the economy, whether it's locally or nationally. Over the last few years, there's been an increase in high-end degree apprenticeships because employers, have really benefited from the high-level skills that degree and high apprenticeships offer to their businesses. I think universities play an important role because it's about understanding these businesses, their needs, and applying that into the workplace. So for us as a university, we took that further a couple of years ago when we established our group, and we now have pathways in some of the areas that we are very strong in, for example, civil engineering, building service engineering, and surveying, where we offer apprenticeships from level 3 all the way to level 6 within our group. So we're trying to work with businesses to identify their needs and offer for them that need at every level as a university group, but also working with our local communities, because we know there's a lot of people from deprived backgrounds, people from communities that traditionally do not go to universities and they're scared of the student debt, etc. So what we've done is we've invested heavily in working with these communities and working with our local authorities to try and offer them apprenticeships at degree level as an alternative and viable way for them to achieve essentially a similar outcome, and even better because of the work experience and link with employers. So I think universities play an important role in developing the skills and the needs of the economy, especially now we're trying to increase the productivity and build back after 2 years of stagnation as such.
Thank you, Sammy. Over to yourself, Liz.
Yes, I agree with Sammy. I think it's to do with skill shortages. We've still got really bad skill shortages in this country at all levels, to be honest. And so I think degree apprenticeships have been really useful. Our degree apprenticeships are based on the skill shortage, so we're very big in digital, cybersecurity, data analytics, software engineering, IT project management, also in leadership and management, which, believe it or not, is a skill shortage, in science and also in health. We all know about the shortages in nursing, advanced clinical practice, social work as well, very big. So I think universities have a key role. I think also it's been very good because having degree apprenticeships, a lot of people previously thought, they had the very stereotypical idea of apprenticeships were mostly for lads doing plumbing, and they didn't ever see them as these different jobs in digital. And to be honest, in a lot of countries, it's still like that. So I think degree apprenticeships, they're very new, they're very different, and the people doing them, they're the pioneers. And often they've had to persuade their parents and their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, that this is a good route, because there's still a stigma around apprenticeships, whether we don't think there is, but there is. And I know people who had to really persuade hard their parents that they should do this. And now, I mean, we've had fantastic results. And our first graduates, we're now into our third lot of graduates, and they've done extremely well in the jobs market. They're getting promotions, they're getting pay rises, and they've got fantastic careers ahead of them.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Liz. Neil, we've heard from two of our speakers today about the importance that the role universities are playing in apprenticeships. Are you able to sort of take us back a step and actually tell us, if I'm completely new to apprenticeships, what exactly does the university do? What does the employer do? And what do I do as an individual looking for that apprenticeship?
Okay, that's a good question, and thank you. I just want to reiterate a point that Liz made, though, before I do answer that question. And if you think about how it's changing, just between us three institutes in the room today, we represent nearly 5,000 apprentices. That's pretty good going, since the fact that it's only recently started. So it is moving forward. And how have those 5,000 odd apprentices got to that point and made that decision? To answer your question, I guess there's a couple of routes, and the primary route is that the employer will be looking to develop people first and foremost, and essentially that's been happening for a long time. So traditionally, employers have looked for new skills, and they've had multiple routes. They've either recruited the skills directly, or they've developed the skills. And one of the routes that's always been available is apprenticeships, but they've tended to be apprenticeships have always tended to be at the technical end of the business, at the kind of level 3, 4, 5. What happened when the apprenticeship levy came in and the changes to the apprenticeship standards came in, it opened it up and started to look at other ways in which we could offer apprenticeships. And as a result of that, we transferred from higher apprenticeships into degree apprenticeships. So employers are still recruiting, and typically, we work with employers that may take on 10, 15, 20 people a year that they then put through to their apprenticeship program at a higher level, at level 6 and level 7, I may say. Or they may have existing employees that they want to work with to develop their skills. So employers drive the agenda. In terms of the individuals, where can they find out about apprenticeships? Well, .gov.uk, apply apprenticeships, go online, have a search. Nationally, most employers and providers advertise what vacancies they've got currently, and anybody can search around those vacancies. So there's a good way of finding out what's available out there. Also, you've got the opportunity to target an employer or a sector, look on their website, look at what's going on, understand. And then from there, you can start to make applications and talk to the potential employer about what route you'd like to take. I mean, currently, I think at the last count, I'm sure I'll be corrected, about 116, 117 apprenticeship routes that are currently live at a degree level of level 6 or above. So there's quite a variety to go at. So if you're an employer, you drive the agenda. If you're a potential apprentice, you can search that, looking for what's available. And from a provider point of view, we work locally and nationally, but particularly around our own regions, and working with our employers as a provider to actually try and match the requirements. So within our kind of local area, we've got a couple of issues around NHS provision. We've provided a program that supports our local NH trusts and therefore is developing some of the skills. And that's a collaboration that we've worked on. And that's not untypical of other universities, but we also draw from a national market as well.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us that wider sort of view on how universities are involved. Now, there's always been this argument within the sector, you know, do I go to university? Do I do an apprenticeship? And it's nice to see that gap and the two options now being on the same level. And it was interesting that on our last session, Philip Page from JP Morgan was talking about how he viewed young people applying for an apprenticeship the same as graduates, and that you know if you're looking to come on to do a higher level degree apprenticeship program, then you should be coming in at the same level a graduate would be, with the same mindset, the same ambition, and the same sort of drive and energy that a graduate would be coming in at to look for that opportunity. The difference is you haven't been through 3 years of university and you're 3 years younger than most graduates. So tell us a bit more about the difference between going to university and doing an apprenticeship. I'd like to start with yourself, Liz.
Yes, well, obviously going to university, you know, it's like a big thing. And you know, it's for a lot of people that will be the right decision. I'd say for people who are very work focused, often a lot of our people who come to us directly from school or college, they've worked through holidays, they've had part-time jobs, they're quite work-orientated people, and they want to move fast. They've got perhaps quite like some of the people in the chat, quite a definite idea about what they want to do. Although not definitely. Often they're people as well who are worried about debt. Perhaps as one lad said to me, my family are in enough debt. I don't want to get into more debt, which is, you know, quite a big thing as well. Another one I remember saying, you know, her parents would struggle to fund her and her twin sister through university, those kind of things. But I think they're people who are quite focused. They're people who don't mind working hard, because this is hard work. You've got a full-time job and you are studying. So, and I probably, you don't have quite the social time that you would if you came full-time to university. But then again, you get a taste of university and you get that opportunity to socialize with people. And let's face it, you've got more money in your pocket. Another lad said, it's always my turn to pay for the round, you know. So there's that aspect. But I do think that for the right person, it's a great option, really. And you can get going in your career very quickly. We also sometimes have people on our degree apprenticeships who have come to us a bit later, and perhaps they have tried to do a degree but dropped out for some reason. And then later on, they decide, right, this is my chance. This is my time. I'm going for it. So we get quite a lot of people like that as well. But it's not for everybody. It's horses for courses, I think.
No, definitely. And I think I'm going to come on to Sammy next, because I think, Sammy touched on this in his first question. And I think if we look at social mobility as a topic, and how apprenticeships assist in social mobility, if we look at the position of London South Bank University and the areas of deprivation that surround where the university is positioned. I mean, I walked into Elephant and Castle and it's unrecognizable now, to what it was 10, 15 years ago. But what that's done is it's priced people out of areas where they've lived and grown up all their lives. Now, Sammy, I want to bring you in on this sort of conversation here. How is this, going to change that? How is the degree apprenticeships and the opportunity to be able to do a degree apprenticeship going to create more opportunities for those people?
Yes, I think it's the apprenticeships and the degree apprenticeships are definitely are going to have an impact. And we do a lot of work locally with that. So, for example, we've committed to supporting 800 people from Southwark, which is our local borough, to get on a degree apprenticeship or higher apprenticeship in the next 4 years. So we do a lot of work in terms of going to the schools, speaking to people, and believe it or not, we have some young people in our local area who are not aware of degree apprenticeships still, because there isn't the full breadth of career advice that they get, either within the schools or within the colleges, etc. So we as the university, we go into these communities, we go to some of the job centers, speak to the parents, etc. We also commission some newsletters that go to people's houses directly to speak to them about the benefits of higher apprenticeships, to try and motivate them and bring them in to do these programs locally, because as you identified rightly, within the local area, there's been a lot of regeneration. There's a lot of new big shiny buildings, but still remains very significant pockets of deprivation within the boroughs. So we in South London, and these are the areas that we are really concerned about, and where we want to try and support them to try and benefit themselves, by engaging in this. And we do a lot of work with in the team that I lead. We have business engagement officers and managers that meet with businesses to try and encourage them to recruit people locally, try and ring fence some of these apprenticeships for local people, try and understand what they look for in the candidates, so we can pass this information to the schools and the colleges we work with to say to them, look, this is what an employer in Southwark or in Lambeth or Lewisham is looking for, and this is how we can prepare our local people to be best prepared for these opportunities. One of the things we're looking at the moment is the skills bootcamps that were launched by the government recently. We're looking at developing some of these in our group to ensure that we provide people with the skills required to pass an interview with an employer. I think once they get on an apprenticeship, whether it's a degree or higher level apprenticeship, I think there's a lot of mechanisms with for them to sustain that and to succeed. It's just there's a lot of work that needs to be done at the beginning, which we are currently undertaking with our local communities.
Definitely. And it's interesting, we'll have a lot of careers advisors tuning into these sessions over the week. And we do hope that those working in the schools, those engaging with the young people, will start to get a better picture of the value apprenticeships deliver and the different opportunities that are available to them. I think, it's not about saying that university is wrong. But it's about saying, well, there's an alternative offer to university. And actually, universities are a part of the journey, whether it is, doing a degree or doing an apprenticeship. It's about having two different options that are available for different people with different mindsets, different agendas, and, different journeys. Neil, is there anything you want to add to this topic in terms of social mobility, the different options? How can we encourage more people to look at apprenticeships as an opportunity?
Good question. and one I've been dealing with for most of my working life. So I'm very fortunate. I can look at this from on a personal level at both angles, having done an apprenticeship and also done a degree, and the degree much later in life, I have to say. But essentially, you know, what we're offering here is a great opportunity for anybody who has a thirst for knowledge and a quest to learn. And you've got all of that going on, and it's fantastic because you think about what the experience is at university, about all of that knowledge, all of that skill, all of that in-depth research, all of that that's behind it. These institutes have got all of that, and they provide that as you know, at a learner level. And then on top of that, you've got this employment situation where you've got behind you an employer that has all the technical resource and technical skills to be able to take that knowledge that you've learned at university and embed it into you in a way in which, to be honest, when I was on my apprenticeship, I was doing lots of technical skills, and that was great. And if I got a problem, I could ask that question the next day and I would get an answer, and it would make sense for me. When I was doing my degree, I wasn't working in that environment, and therefore I had to go off and do the research. And so that work context is really important. And I think that then leads to greater social mobility. You know, one of the stats that I often say is that about 75 to 80% of apprentices are still with their employer 5 to 10 years down the line, which is great. But there is that 25% that move on fairly rapidly. And that's because they are very attractive propositions to other employers. And so that creates social mobility, and people move. You know, I've got apprentices now that are trying to get finished quickly, get ahead of it, because they've got opportunities to move to America, or they've got opportunities across Europe, you know, with their employers and with new employers. So, yeah, it will open up that jobs market, particularly for people who are in that kind of category of making that decision. Do I go to university or do I go into a degree apprenticeship? And they're both the same, but actually there's a greater depth of understanding and support with the degree apprenticeship. Thank you.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Now, I can't believe we're nearly to the end of the session, and we're only just touching the cusp of the topic. But I think, you know, in terms of delivering some value and some of the people that are on the session, like I said, there'll be a lot of careers advisors on today's session. What is the future for degree apprenticeships and the role of universities and apprenticeships? You know, can you see universities taking more of a lead on this going forward? I'll start with yourself, Neil.
I can, and that's evolving all the time, as my colleagues in the room will know that, you know, we've evolved the degree apprenticeship already. You know, things will change. Some of that will be legislated. Some of that will be personal. You know, make those choices. Yeah. We at Aston have taken some real choices around how long it takes to deliver a degree apprenticeship. We've looked at the way in which we integrate the learning into the rest of the school, so that actually do we incorporate degree apprentices with mainstream students. And in some cases we do, but in most cases we treat them as standalone and separate, because actually they have a different requirement, and because of their evolution they need to be more flexible. So the way in which we deliver, the way in which we support, and the way in which we engage with employers will change, and those will be the developments. Yes, there'll be other products coming along, and we're all looking at those and how we can influence and shape those. But I think it's the relationship piece that universities are learning about and evolving and developing. And I've worked in apprenticeships for the last too many years, probably 25, 30 years. I've been delivering apprenticeships at some level. And to be honest with you, it's great to be part of this journey now at this, you know, higher level, to be able to support universities to go on that journey. And it's brilliant because we've now got the complete suite. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
Lots to change and a great future ahead of us.
Thank you so much. Liz, quick closing comments from yourself?
Yeah, well, hopefully it's going to grow. I mean, these are complex courses for universities to run. And you have to cope with things like Ofsted and things like that universities aren't really used to coping with. So I think there won't be, probably won't be hundreds of universities wanting to do this at a scale. But for those that do, I think it's great. It's fantastic for the students, for lecturers who love the students as well, because they're so motivated.
Brilliant, fantastic. And over to yourself, Sammy. Last words.
Yes, I agree with my colleagues here. They are, for us at London South Bank University, apprenticeships are part of our future. We have a commitment in our 5-year strategy to have 10,000 apprentices at the group. So that's like a third of all the students that we have. We want to be apprentices by 2025-26.
Yeah.
And therefore we've put in a lot of work into this, and everybody's fully aware. But like Liz said, they're complex programs. They're not for every institution, but they're very rewarding for everybody involved.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you so much. So our next session is going to be with Leadership Through Sport and Business, and they'll be talking about routes into apprenticeships. Thank you so much, Sammy. Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you so much, Liz. Really appreciate all of your support. And all of our in-person events will be hosted by the universities. So Manchester will be supported by MMU. Birmingham will be supported by Aston, and London will be supported by LSBU. So thank you so much to the universities for their support and for supporting today. We look forward to seeing you all in person for the main event. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheerio.
Thank you.
Thank you.